Learn how to pass values into a function that runs immediately using IIFE. So we're going to build this and see how an IIFE can receive value just like normal function and then pass that value when the function runs immediately. IIFE immediately invoked function expressions with parameters allow quick one-time execution with control inputs without polluting global scope. So the reason why this is useful is because there are instances where you don't want the global scope of your function to be polluted. So let's go ahead and make an example that reflects how parameters can be passed into your IIFE function. So let's move on. Now, what I'm just going to do is I'm going to make an opening and close brackets. And since this is a function, self-invoking function, then I don't need a name. But this time, I want to pass in a parameter. And that is what you are seeing inside the bracket and not the name of the function. So now that I have this, my bad. So after it is where I can make what I want to add as actions inside that function. So let text equals to hello plus name document dot get element by id demo dot inner html equals to text. Now I have the functions itself, but now I need to invoke it. So how do I invoke it? So I'll just add a function invocation at the back, opening and closing bracket, and inside it, then I'm just going to pass a parameter that will correspond with what I have. So I have a parameter for name, then I can just pass in do this way, and then you can see. So if I change this to my name, it will immediately update. You can see it doesn't need any special call before the function will run because it's a self-invoking function. So what this example does is that it runs a function instantly and passes this parameter John Doe into it and then display a greeting on the page. So if I don't want to hello, I can update this and then it will still work. So what you are seeing on the screen basically is that we created an anonymous function. You can see that this function has no name. Then we added a parameter of name. Then we wrap this function in a parenthesis and immediately we call it with John Smith. And then this part combines the name with text. This is the text part and this is the name part, which is this that is passed in as a parameter and then it displays the result in HTML. So function is created with a parameter name. JavaScript wraps it in an expression and then the value is passed immediately and then it runs instantly using that value, and on the page you can see the output. Now you can see that we first define, then at the end of that function we pass the value and then it runs immediately. Now the last open and close bracket here that you see is what trigger execution, and this is where arguments are passed. So IIF is with parameters allow quick time, one-time execution without polluting global scope. When you want immediate function execution, this pattern is very useful and still need to pass dynamic values into a private function. Key takeaways from this lesson: we see that IIFE works like a normal function with input. This one takes a parameter just like a normal functions and now it has inputs on its own. Values are passed during execution, not later. So we didn't do anything like maybe we'll come down and say values and then something like this and say values later. No, Immediately after the definition of the function, we passed the values during execution and not later. This is also useful for instance logic with data. And then it also helps to keep scope private and control. So the scope is private and controlled within the function and not outside.